In this land of woods and waterfalls, of small towns and local democracy, something unnatural is happening. In 2022, a Texas PAC funded 235 U.S. candidates. 113 were in the tiny state of New Hampshire. The year before, Kansas oil billionaires Charles and David Koch funded postcard mailings and door-to-door canvassing in New Hampshire, all to build support for a taxpayer-funded school voucher program. Why is big oil so invested in our state? Even our children's education? What's the connection? Strap in for this episode of GSM 9, Granite State Matters 9-Minute News Source. When Richard Nixon founded the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970, Koch brothers Charles and David began what would turn into a half-century battle against the EPA.
Environmental regulations have been especially bad for the Koch's bottom line, and they've been slapped with numerous fines from the Environmental Protection Agency.
We are talking about millions of gallons of crude oil being released into the environment.
Cue the Sununu's. Chris Sununu's father, John Sununu Sr., attended the School of Engineering at MIT. Who were his classmates? Charles and David Koch. The Sununus also became leaders in denying humans' role in climate change. From John Sununu convincing the first President Bush not to sign the Paris Climate Accord, to his son, Chris Sununu, whose Public Utilities Commission members slashed its energy efficiency programs. New Hampshire's energy policy is out of place in New England. But what led the Koch brothers to go from fighting the Environmental Protection Agency to something far more radical? And why has their plan ended up targeting New Hampshire? Let's fast forward to the presidential election of 1980. The Kochs spent millions to promote the new Libertarian Party with David Koch running for vice president.
The Koch brothers want to repeal virtually every major piece of legislation that has been passed in the last 80 years to help the middle class, to help working families, to help the elderly, to help the children, to help low-income people.
The Kochs wanted to get rid of Social Security and public education. Their plan for a libertarian utopia without regulations or social concern attracted only 1% of voters.
So the Kochs decided to use their money to advance their agenda. They gave generously to political candidates, but more importantly, they invested heavily in groups that could bring their anti-government ideas into the mainstream. The brothers gave millions to right-wing think tanks, and Charles even founded one, the Libertarian Cato Institute.
Cue the Josiah Bartlett Center for Public Policy, the New Hampshire affiliate of this flow of money from the Kochs. John Sununu chaired the Josiah Bartlett Center, and now it's chaired by his son, James. The Kochs helped the Federalist Society stack the courts, and they started the long series of court cases leading to Citizens United. Now, dark money can flow without limit into campaigns. The Kochs donated to universities, including the University of New Hampshire, in exchange for teaching libertarianism. In 2018, the Kochs donated $1 million to St. Anselm's College in Manchester. Jason Sorens was hired to direct Anselm Center for Ethics and Society shortly after. Cue Jason Sorens and the Free State Project. In 2001, Sorens was impatient with the Koch's slow progress in transforming America. He urged libertarians instead to take over a single, small state. He proposed a Free State Project. Libertarians should establish residence in a small state and take over the state government. They decided to take over our state, New Hampshire. By 2003, 5,000 people had signed up, promising to move and make New Hampshire their libertarian homeland. Once here, they were instructed to run for local office to earn name recognition. Then, they should try to win one of the 400 seats in New Hampshire's House of Representatives. By 2008, the Kochs decided Sorens was worth helping. He began being paid as an affiliated scholar at their Mercatus Center. Here's a quick look at some of the other key players in the Free State Project. When Free Stater Tim Condon moved to Grafton, he founded the New Hampshire chapter of the Republican Liberty Caucus to convert Republicans to be libertarians. As libertarians began to be elected to the legislature, Free Stater Greg Moore became their inside man. He was hired as Chief of Staff to the New Hampshire House in 2011. Now, Greg heads Americans for Prosperity NH, Here, he stands proudly touting the Citizens United decision. Free Stater Jason Osborne was elected to the New Hampshire House of Representatives in 2014. Now, he's the House Majority Leader. The transformation of New Hampshire's Republican Party to the Koch agenda was succeeding. In 2023, Free State Project Chair Carla Jericho declared, "The Granite Republic is our homeland, and they will be creating that homeland by any means required." By the following year, 94 members of the New Hampshire legislature and Republican Party became members of the oil belt-funded, Texas-based Young Americans for Liberty, or YAL. They almost comprise a majority of the House's 200-plus Republicans. In 2021, Sorens and VP of the Charles Koch Institute, William Ruger, named New Hampshire freest of the 50 states. Governor Sununu attended the Cato Institute ceremony. What do Free Staters mean by liberty? Libertarians believe all property should be private. If a billionaire wants to buy up a state park, tough luck to the public. In Belknap County, libertarians try to privatize the public ski area. They believe that zoning is theft and all drugs should be legal. If your neighbor wants to build factories or have fentanyl labs on their property, that's their business. At Free Staters' 2023 Pork Fest celebration, they sold 3D printed, untraceable gun parts. Libertarians believe that if parents don't want to educate or can't care for their children, it's none of society's business. In Croydon, Free Staters tried to slash the school budget in half. The Libertarian plan is to gradually defund public services until they die down or property taxes pick up all the costs. In 2021, the voucher bill to pay private and religious schools tuition came up for a vote. Over 3,000 people signed in against it, while only 600 signed in favor. But it was a crucial step toward the Koch's 1980 plan to get rid of public education. The Libertarian Koch network paid for postcards and canvassing in support of vouchers through their Americans for Prosperity NH. Billionaire Betsy DeVos, owner of for-profit educational companies, came to New Hampshire to promote the vouchers alongside New Hampshire Education Commissioner Frank Edelblut. Chair of the Finance Committee, Ken Weiler, is a liaison to ALEC, which feeds corporate bills into state policy. Weiler was tasked with shepherding ALEC bills through the House. To avoid more public input, Weiler stuffed the voucher language into the huge budget rider bill. That's just one example of how democracy is being subverted by money at every turn. New Hampshire does not need to let outside megabucks and a handful of libertarians run the state. In 2022, Belknap started a bipartisan voters guide that identified extremists. Granite State Matters joined in. They kept extremists from totally controlling the House during the next session. During that election, Young Americans for Liberty paid students to promote their priorities and candidates. They claimed they knocked on 25,825 doors, made 118,800 phone calls, and sent 21,755 mailers. And in May 2024, the Libertarian Party urged their members to become ungovernable at their Libertarian National Convention. Libertarianism promotes the interests of billionaire plutocrats under the guise of liberty. Libertarians are tightly allied with the Koch network. People in New Hampshire, Idaho, Arizona, and other states under attack by these radicals are fighting back. Will we be able to spread the word in time to block takeover of our state and our nation? Subscribe and share this video. Go to granitestatematters.org/help for more ways to get involved.